It's Wednesday and I'm super tired. It's really cold. It's been raining all day. My feet are freezing because the cement is floor. The floor is cement and I walk around in Sperry's all day, which is a bad idea. So maybe wear 2 pairs of socks tomorrow. Lots of work on this car today. So it's got the Hello Euros now. This is the beautiful British Columbia vehicle. New Hello Euros, working well. I can't test the leveling because without a cluster, the LRA doesn't seem to communicate. So gotta wait for the cluster to come back. Mike did the power steering lines today. That reservoir was super nasty. It's got new bushings in there, which for some reason when they're new have this white powder that comes off of them. I don't know if the Germans are doing coke when they're making these things or what, but we'll get that cleaned up a little bit better. But new lines, the new lights, perfectly wired. I've learned how to do that and route the ballast cable, and it just looks really nice. Cleaned up the core support and the bumper underneath there, little trim strip at the bottom. Not that we don't put our best work in every car that we do here, but on something this clean and original, it's just even extra steps to take total care and do a perfect job. Did the center console, it had that phone thing in it. So that is no more. Unplugged it, wrapped the wires in some actually genuine BMW black like wire insulating tape that they wrap the stuff in the trunk, just so they don't rattle in the console. So that is good to go. He wants the old piece back, so that's in the trunk. Trunk went back together today. Rear suspension went back up. Drive shaft is in. Exhaust tomorrow, but trunk's reassembled. We've got floor mats, which we're going to do last so we don't have to clean them. There's the old phone tray. Talked about the door sill before. Today I pulled the door panel off. Just the tiniest of cracks down here in the bottom of that sunshade. So I've got some glue curing on that to make it last a little bit longer. And here's what we have from the vapor barrier. Just completely failed at the bottom. That butyl tape is essentially plastic. It's not sticky at all anymore. So we're going to be taking all of this out, airbag and vapor barrier off, peel off the butyl tape, reseal that, do the door lock actuator while we're in there. This sill was just rotting, like all cracked and pieces of it coming off. So sill is new, and that was damaged due to the vapor barrier. So they just have to be done on about a 10-15 year basis. The glue dries out and they're going to leak. Now, for cars that don't get wet, it's less of an issue, but for real cars that go out and do car things, you got to do it. A reminder on the sunshades, you do need to pull off the trim. There's the Titan rear right door finisher, and that reveals 2 screws that go into these body nuts that hold the sunshade to the door, and you won't get the door panel off without releasing those screws. Also, there's an additional screw here when you get the side quarter window shade out, another brass Phillips, and it's got a little bracket that holds the door panel to the door. Speaking of the door panel, it is over here, getting a few minor repairs. Par for the course on the E39. The rivets that hold on that bracket I just talked about were a little loose, so I'm letting that glue overnight with this incredibly janky setup. That just adds a bit of weight to keep that down. Vinyl cladding peels off here. Got a piece of wood so we don't put impressions or indents in the vinyl. We're doing this whole thing on like 7 layers of bubble wrap because the panel is in such perfect condition. And I ripped the mat pocket off because it was too loose. Mat pocket's clean and ready to go back on, but it's not going to until I peel all this off, score up the surface a little bit, and then we'll get that on tomorrow. And we can see some damage in the bottom of the door panel just from water exposure. And the seal on the bottom of the door itself actually traps all that water in there. So all the more reason to do it. I've seen a lot worse. This still has plenty of body. It'll hold the map light in there. The puddle light in there without having to worry about that falling out, which is a concern. When they get really bad, then the puddle lights don't stay. But good progress. We'll let that dry overnight, take care of the mat pocket tomorrow, do that actuator. And we're making good progress on this car. We have it for another week, all of next week as well, but I'm out of town the latter half of next week. So we're gonna try to finish it up by Tuesday, I think. Super annoying issue with the Urid brake pads that we put in. So let's see, it'd be a front outer pad. I could not get, I'm gonna turn into the Tin Man. Could not get the brake pad wear sensor to install. I broke the first one and almost broke the second one. See this backing plate right there? The pad wear sensor fits in that notch, and the backing plate needs to be cut out around that or it shears off part of the plastic on the mount. So I ended up putting in just ATE pads instead, since that's another OEM, but we'll be able to salvage this by just grinding a little hole in that. But that's super annoying. These are supposed to be OE quality parts, but they don't house the freaking sensor. That's a manufacturing defect. I did a bunch of tic-tac jobs today on Steve's 03M5. So the emergency escape handle wasn't connected to anything. The cable was just missing. So I took down the plastic trim where the handle is on the trunk lid, found out that I figured the cable would be broken. It's super thin, but no, it had just pulled out of the handle. So somebody must have really yanked on that before. Replaced the center dash vent. That was cracked. It was missing the rear right jack pad, so it's got one of those in there now. What else did I do? Just a bunch of things like that. The pedal box ceiling trim was missing a quarter turn screw, and I put a new one in, but it wouldn't bite to anything because the little acceptor body nut, whatever behind it, was missing. So I got to come over here, and they fit right here in this part of the pedal assembly. So the last one I had on the shelf, so I just ordered 5 more. I definitely want to have those in stock.